In a city of broad shoulders, a city that has risen from its own ashes, we're no strangers to the searing heat of a blaze or the gut-wrenching wail of a siren. We are Chicago, and the brave souls of Firehouse 51 are a part of our very fabric. We've ridden along with them, felt the sweat on their brows, the grit in their eyes, and the unwavering courage in their hearts. But sometimes, a call hits closer to home than any inferno ever could. Sometimes, the battle isn't in a burning building, but in the sterile, hushed halls of a hospital. And for one of our most beloved, Christopher Herrmann, that private war became a public heartache. The news spread like wildfire through the city's heart, a chilling whisper that turned into a deafening roar of concern and disbelief. Herrmann, our Herrmann, the veteran firefighter with a heart as big as his infectious laugh, the man who could stare down a wall of flames without flinching, was down. Not in a 5-alarm fire, not in a daring rooftop rescue, but in the aftermath of a senseless act that left us all reeling. An accident, they called it, but for those who know and love him, it felt like a deliberate blow to the soul of Firehouse 51, and to a city that sees its own resilience mirrored in his unwavering spirit. To understand the depth of this shock, you have to understand the man. Christopher Herrmann isn't just a firefighter. He's the quintessential Chicagoan, a family man, a bar owner, a guy who's as comfortable giving heartfelt advice as he is barking orders in the heat of the moment. He's the one who reminds the younger, brasher members of the house what it truly means to be a hero, not just with grand gestures, but with the quiet, everyday acts of loyalty and compassion. He is the anchor, the steady hand, the one you can always count on. And then, in the blink of an eye, he was the one in need. The initial reports were a chaotic jumble of fear and confusion. A fire, an altercation, an accident. The word hospital was a punch to the gut. As the details slowly, painfully emerged, the picture became clearer, and all the more heartbreaking. In a moment of sheer, unadulterated bravery, a moment so quintessentially Herrmann, he found himself in the wrong place at the wrong time. A situation that should have been a routine call spiraled into a life-and-death struggle, and the man who had saved so many lives was now fighting for his own. The vigil began almost immediately, though it wasn't one of flickering candles and hushed whispers. It was a city holding its collective breath. It was in the anxious glances shared between strangers on the L, the somber tone of news anchors who, for once, seemed to be reporting on a member of their own family. At Molly's, the bar that Herrmann poured his heart and soul into, the familiar sounds of laughter and clinking glasses were replaced by a heavy, expectant silence. Each ring of the phone, each news alert, sent a fresh wave of anxiety through the hearts of those who had gathered, seeking solace in the place he had built. Inside the walls of Chicago Med, the fluorescent lights bore down on the familiar faces of Firehouse 51, their usual bravado stripped away, replaced by a raw, unfiltered vulnerability. These were men and women who faced death on a daily basis, who walked into the fiery maw of disaster without a second thought. But this was different. This was one of their own. This was Herrmann. To see the stoic Chief Bowden, a man who commands with an unshakable authority, with a look of profound worry etched on his face, was to understand the gravity of the situation. To see the ever-resilient Kelly Severide, a man who has cheated death more times than anyone can count, pacing the waiting room with a restless energy that spoke of a deep and abiding fear, was to feel the true weight of what was at stake. And in the quiet, tear-filled eyes of his wife, Cindy, we saw the heart of the storm, the devastating personal toll of a public tragedy. This wasn't just a story about a firefighter getting hurt. It was a story about family, about the bonds that are forged in the crucible of shared danger and unwavering loyalty. It was a reminder that beneath the soot-stained gear and the helmets, these are human beings with hopes, dreams, and a profound capacity to love and to hurt. As the hours stretched into an eternity, stories of Herrmann began to circulate, quiet anecdotes shared in the sterile waiting room that painted a vivid portrait of the man they were all praying for. They remembered his gruff but well-meaning advice to the rookies, his unwavering support for his fellow firefighters, the way his face would light up when he talked about his children. They remembered the small moments, the ones that don't make the headlines, but that build the foundation of a life well lived. And in those stories, we found a glimmer of hope. A man like that, a man with that much love, and that much fight in him.